Hello, everybody.
Hello.
Welcome back to Crypto Talks. And it's Monday again, which means we're gonna do TA stuff. And um, we're testing out some kind of new schedule type thing for this. And yeah, we'll see how it works because both of us are kind of unsure. Truth be told, we don't like schedules. We do in whatever comes to mind, but we decided we should probably try to structure this show a little bit more. And by the way, Rob,
By the
you
way,
remember last week? I think it was we got to 100 subscribers, right?
I do.
We have 102 now.
Yay!
Yes, nice. That means people have been sharing and have been liking and all that stuff. So remember to like the thing. We should say this in the start. Like the video and share it to all the peoples that you like to annoy with links every day.
Yes.
You know, kind of everybody on Instagram do it now. So everybody who everybody has like one or two people they spam Instagram reels to. Those people, spam them with this link once every 5 minutes. Just keep pushing it until they respond. Okay, no, I'm kidding. I'm not going to be all that serious. What I'm going to do, though, I'm going to see if I can do this properly or not. We're actually going to jump over. We're going to do some Bitcoin first. I'll try to hash through the weekly, daily, 4-hourly, and the hourly on Bitcoin as fast as I can. Well, not as fast as I can, but as thoroughly as I can without wasting time. And then Rob's going to have a look at some stuff that he feels he wants to look at. And then we're going to look at Ethereum against Bitcoin and against the dollar. And the same with Solana against the dollar and against Bitcoin. And see what we got. I hope that sounds fair.
That's very fair to me.
It sounds very fair to me as well. So let's start this thing. Here we go. Here is my weekly charts. And this is the first time now that I'm going to be doing this while I'm not seeing my own face on this screen anymore because I've got a schedule to follow. But we do have some bullishness coming into the market again, and it all starts on the weekly charts. So first of all, I'm gonna, obviously this is the whole 2023, 2022 downtrend, 2023, 2024 bull market. I'm gonna start with zooming in right away here, and then I'm gonna zoom out again later on. But we have created a very nice weekly candle right here, which this is a hammer. And it's green as well, which is really good. And this means, obviously, we had a bunch here. It doesn't always mean go big green after, but a lot of the times it does. We don't have it here, for example. But after a downtrend like this, we can get a weekly candle with a big wick at the bottom, which signals bullishness in the markets. It's happened several times before in the current bull run. So we had this first one right here. There's one. But a small one right here, another half ugly one right here, but a nice one right here, and now we have this one. It doesn't mean that it will definitely go up. We might get this situation, right? That would be annoying, but still, that can happen. But that's usually what follows. Big green candle. Obviously, we started with red right away here, so in one day so far it doesn't look awesome. But what we do have here as well is a bounce on the weekly Bollinger Bands right here, the orange line. We also have a bounce on this trend line right here, which is anchored back here and had a first bounce right here. And now we've sort of bounced on it. We got confluence there. So there's 3 bullish-ish signals on the weekly so far. We also have a return back under 70 for at least 3rd week in a row now. On the weekly RSI, which we had somewhat of a dip here before as well, which resulted in a pump. I'm not saying that's going to happen as well right here, but I think, Rob, you and I, we did predict some kind of like jaggedy type up and down move on the RSI during this bull run on the weekly. Correct me if I'm wrong here, but I think we talked about it.
Yeah, I mean, realistically, you either have to carry on going vertically upwards, or the weekly RSI, daily, any RSI has to reset unless you just keep on going upwards. Sideways after a big pump will just reset the RSI at least below 70. So there's the perfect example. Is it's not a downtrend. It's not a reversal. It's not an idea that the trend is ending. It's the upwards momentum is still there on the RSI. Overall, it's got a lot of room to come down just to come back to neutral, which coming back to neutral and then bouncing is in itself bullish. It's an idea. Yep, great. We've had some time off and we can now push forward again. Yeah. So it's not a panic to not be going green candle after green candle after green candle. It's not a concern. It's healthy. So absolutely, the RSI has to come down, and don't worry about it.
Exactly. Don't worry too much about it.
Don't worry about it.
This is the weekly. It moves slowly. Yes, it moves slowly. We might see this type of thing coming back down and then up again, or it might just do what it did here, where it just goes like this.
So while you're there on the weekly, if you could just put a horizontal line on the RSI at 55 and 45.
Let's see, 55. I'm not going to do it perfectly.
Just type it.
I'm too late. I'm just going to click it out. So there we go.
Okay, so there you go, roughly. So I call that the neutral band. So essentially, whenever you get a drop down for Bitcoin, that upper line of 55, that is where I kind of expect to bounce. And if we go back to previous bull markets, that's the line you expect the bounce from. I think you need an older chart.
I just realized I need to go to the DLX. Keep talking. I got it.
Oh, yeah, there you go. So if you go back and you look at this sort of range, it's 55 to 45. That's the range we want to bounce. And in a bull market, going back, you can see that 55 all the way through 2017. Yeah. It held as support multiple times, and all the way back in 2012-13 as well. Yeah. Now, when we had a drop below that level and then used it as resistance in 2018, that was then the signal. That was a big hit to go, bear market time. And again in 2022, when once it dropped below that 45, it bounced above it with the first drop in mid 2021.
Right here. It's 2021.
It's an idea. This isn't a normal level of bearishness, and that's the thing where if that hadn't happened, we mentioned it on the macro stream last week about how Bitcoin was very disappointing in that bull run, and it was the China mining ban that did it. And one thing that caused that was right in the middle of what should have been a huge, massive bull cycle. All of the indicators reset. And that technical trading
that slowed down the momentum.
Exactly. And so it will have affected the way that automated trading, and I can tell you that for an absolute guarantee, because I automate strategies using technical rules. So I can tell you this affected my strategies. It affected how easy things sold in, when things turned around, when there were pullbacks, because things weren't as bullish on the big picture. So it's not something to worry about having a pullback. You're looking for a deep pullback on the RSI, or personally I am. To me, that's warning sign. That is, here's your kind of support level that you should look to, that you want to hold. Otherwise, it's bear market time, and it's a pretty accurate level. It's a pretty easy principle to go off. Is this a trend ruining drop? That's basically all it is.
Yeah, and personally, I really like to look at the super trend for the weekly specifically. You can see how it holds throughout the whole bull market run. It does as well here. Gosh, hold on, I need to back off. And it really holds that super trend. You can see it here the whole way up. So the super trend on the weekly in a bull market is quite good, quite accurate.
Quite good, yes.
Quite good. No, but you can see it here. I mean, we don't actually bounce on it directly, right? We didn't do it here, never really touched it or anything. We only get sort of close, but what tends to happen is either the Bollinger Band is in the way, like it is right here, or something else. But currently, this is what we got on the weekly. I'm going to move on to the daily now so we don't get stuck for too long. And I'm going to jump into, there we go. So let's see if I zoom into the correct, because I planned this out to be in a specific window for me when I did this, and we'll see how it goes. But first of all, the daily RSI is kind of bottomy. We've had the same kind of level right here. We bounced on that once. It's below, this is the daily, so it's not really, it doesn't have the same kind of range type thing. But if we look back, when we started this exponential move up, which is much harder uptrend or harsher uptrend than this one, instead of going to the bottom with the RSI every time we had a nice correction, we are now only moving down to about, say, 35-ish. And we've just hit that as well, like we did this time right here. So that's, for me, a decent sign of some type of bullish momentum. We did lose the Bollinger trend. Was not being played here. We played the Bollinger trend right here. That's the orange line. We played it the whole way up. Then during the sideways move, the Bollinger is just kind of ignored. And then we lost it completely here, and we have actually started playing on the daily. See how it kind of ran into it twice, and now it's actually broken above it, or it's at least fighting it. So we'll have to wait and see here what this week gives us, really. On the daily, we might see genuinely, even though we did break out of this and did pump to 65.5, there's nothing, and it's not much to stop us from coming down here and maybe double bottoming around this level, which would probably push the RSI down to oversold, which would be even more bullish. That's the end of the that's where the bottom would be for me, unless it's right here. And I'm gonna give you some ideas on why that would maybe be the bottom right here. So, like I said, Bollinger is kind of flipped. It's not confirmed because it's fighting it currently. What we do have is
down though, so
yes,
be aware, not pointing down.
And if we do pump, we do have you can see this red area right here. That is the super trend on the daily. It's sitting right there at 67.6, and that would be a potential resistance if we do pump up to it. It tends to kind of react to it at least once in the beginning of a move, but we'll have to wait and see. But what is interesting, though, that I really liked was the fact that we got this fib level. Let's see if I did this right. There we go. So we did bounce on this fib here, which is the 0.382. We bounced on it pretty nicely, actually. And it looks like it's bouncing in the middle of nowhere sometimes when you're down on your trend lines and all this stuff. But generally, the fib levels tend to catch sometimes. And obviously, this is stop hunts and everything, but that's a pretty nice bounce on the fib, I would say. And that's really everything I have for the daily. I don't know if you have anything, Rob, here, but
I think just in terms of the fibs, it's when the drops. The ultimate drop is always a case of liquidations. It's when it finds enough buyers for the number of sellers, that's where the price drops, and you can't predict that. If a number on a fib chart doesn't tell you where that's going to end.
Yeah,
but it does tell you where buyers are going to step in, and that's why it offers so much as either a overall bottom or a very good buying place within a range. So and it doesn't matter if you ended up not catching the absolute bottom. If you bought 57.5, and I think my average position is about 57.9, I think now. So great. Good on you. Yeah. Well, that was that. It didn't matter that you didn't catch the bottom. You bought a range.
Yeah, and what I will say though is as well, this is playing from this fib is pulled from this bottom right here, which is the previous time we were here on the RSI. However, I like the confidence that we get when we move this down and put it at the start of the exponential move, and it's hitting exactly the same but on a different fib, which is the first range. And for me, in a bull market, this first fib range right here is a very strong range, especially for Bitcoin. I mean, look at this. That's a nice hit. that's a nice hit. And this is where I'm like, oh, okay, we reach the top of this range, or we reach the top here, then we go back to the bottom of the range on the fibs. And that's where we got our, what was it, 23% dip. And that's it. Is that it? I think it might be. And I'll give you more reasons to believe that it might be, because I'm gonna go on to the 4-hourly right away just to get through this. Let's see, 4-hourly. That's that button. So let's see. There we go. I'm gonna pull a fib right away here as well, because we're gonna talk about the fib. We pull it from the top to the bottom just to see where it might be. How, when you pull a fib from the top to a bottom, you're looking for potential resistances on the way up again, right? So we're pulling it from all the way out there over here. Might be a stretch, but we've found some fib level resistance right here with the golden pocket. Not that that was pulled at that time, but that lines up pretty nicely with this. So I think that's one of the reasons why we've actually cracked through here, cracked through the Bollinger. We flipped the super trend right up here after this huge red green candle. So both of those are flipped into bullish. And it kind of slowed down when we got into this fib range right here, and it failed 1, 2, and then 3 times. We tested a big pump here, 3 times this fib level right here. It also correlates to this peak right here, which I think is a minor peak, but it still needs to break that peak. We're forming kind of the ugliest cup and handle ever, with a really crappy cup. But it's sort of forming something along those lines. But we are kind of failing now on the 4-hourly, which is something that I do want to mention though. We've come up to this level again. We're kind of failing the Bollinger here, which is not a major deal, because I'm expecting kind of, since this RSI is looking pretty toppy, I'm expecting it to kind of come down and maybe do that mid-level bullish bounce on the RSI, so it gets some new momentum to move up again into the greens here, which might pull us all the way up to test this golden pocket in this area right here. And that's going to have resistance, I can tell you that right now. But what we do kind of want to see on Bitcoin is, I don't count this as a top. That's just a downtrend with a big fall at the end. So the top is here, the peak is there. And what I want to see is, from Bitcoin, is a peak somewhere around here, maybe, where it pushes through this, gives us a new higher high, so we can pull some type of trend line like that, if that makes sense.
Yeah.
Meaning, whoa, if we can do something like this, I don't know, whatever, I'm just going to pull a random, and then we want to see that type of thing happen, so we can create this new trend upwards that is confirmed with a bottom and a top. That's a horribly bad drawing there, but I'm expecting maybe that something, if that makes sense.
It does.
And I like that idea, because like I said, the weekly looks bullish. Let's see if we can switch over to our faces. So the weekly looks bullish, right? The daily looks pretty bullish as well, because we're kind of fighting that Bollinger right now. 4-hourly is looking decent. I was going to look at the hourly as well, but I think we don't need to look at the hourly. That's a bit too zoomed in for my own taste, to be honest. It's just if I find something really interesting currently going on when we're sitting here and doing this type of thing, and I see something interesting on the 1-hourly, then I'll mention it. But
yeah,
at the moment,
there's one interesting thing that I can mention if I share my screen, and
yes.
it's talking about you're talking about the Fibonacci's, and this is something that I've kind of known for a long time ago, and you spot that 2017 was perfect. So what I've done, I've just simplified the Fibonacci's here, and basically gone, you can carry it on earlier, but I just started it at the end of 2016 here, where every time it came up, every time it made a bottom and then it broke that high, whenever it came into this band, not, people, you say the golden pocket, but actually the 618 on the linear chart was actually a perfect support on a number of times, and that whole range was a very good range multiple times. Again, never perfect, but following that up, every time it made a high, if you just started buying when it hit that 0.5, you'd get some good purchases. Now, and this is something that's carried on all the way through the bull market. And then when we had the break down, so even then you had a really good buy down at 11,000 after it hit 20k. Beautiful. If you hit that, you had a chance to sell at 17, but the fact it then came and broke that further, okay, there's your cycle end. From a Fibonacci perspective, we ain't making Fibonacci uptrends anymore. And we actually then went and pulled a beautiful set of Fibonacci's all through 2018. But then when you start the process again and go through, think of 2019, and there is a lot of argument that right now, if macro conditions worsen, we're something like this from the bottom, where actually we've had a really good run up. It's before the halving. The supply shock hasn't taken hold yet. Okay, yeah, well, the ETFs have arguably, that's what's accelerated us ahead of this, maybe making this irrelevant, but we'll see. But before the halving last time, everyone thought as it ran up to 14k, yeah, here we go, it's bull market time. Nope, we came down, came and touched that bottom. That was the bottom that Kevin Svensson called, that blew up his channel. And then again, we broke below that level. It wasn't the next bullish period. So there's a case, this has held pretty well. Let's move forward to the next cycle. In that case, it was just one big long bull. There was no significant pullback until there was.
Until there was,
And so you look at this cycle, and I say this might not be what people want to hear, but if you look at this, and if you look at this, and then you look at where we're at today, at some point, a big old correction is coming. At some point, I'm really not calling for it now. I don't think it's coming now, but bear in mind that as say it comes up in here, 100k, and then all the way back to 65.
Yeah, you know what's funny though, if I may, if you pull it back to where it was,
if
you pull it back to where it was, see where that green fib level sits. It's right on that peak at 49 something, which is where we have confluence. If you go back on the charts a little bit, we have confluence with that peak from.
If I just put
yes, put a horizontal there. Then just go scroll back a tiny bit. There you go. There's the peak that we had.
And you've got a lot of range
on the right, there, the first like bear market peak. So it's like, well, the next one,
that one.
It doesn't hit it perfectly, but somewhere around there.
It's way,
it's funny that it hits there, because then that would be it would make sense for Bitcoin's price to bounce at 48, 49, something or other.
Yeah.
If we do get a big like.
Yeah, that's something to be aware of, that we've always had it. Right now we've had these little cycles so far, and then we've had a big push up, which like I say, my idea, my thinking is that the ETFs have basically created the halving short squeeze, or replaced it, because I'm not so sure the halving short squeeze is having such a huge effect now.
Yeah, no, it takes a while.
So, well, it's not going to have such an effect now, but even in the fact that we've gone from 2% to 1% inflation, okay, yes, we've got harder, but we were already pretty damn hard. So, like, the ETFs are providing demand. Well, we've seen, as we talked about it last week, that crypto is a macro, Bitcoin especially, is a macro asset. It is absolutely tied in lockstep with bond yields, with the stock market, with gold. Yes, it's having a secular bull market driven by genuine organic demand. Great, that's good. That's what Bitcoin's going to do. And yes, absolutely, the fact that I think we had a disappointing 2021 means that this cycle we've got a lot of demand to actually catch up on, and it's going to get tough to get hold of it. So I don't think it's going to happen here, but I don't think that this cycle, this Fibonacci rule doesn't hold just with crypto. This is universal among assets, and so wherever we go up to, let's just project a I don't know, $250,000. Don't be surprised if it then came back to 100k.
Yeah, I'd love that. I'd love to be able to sell at 250 and then buy it back at 100. I'd be fumingly super happy.
Yes. So
Who wouldn't?
So that's just a little history on fibs, and it holds. If all you did was waited for a pullback, and maybe not right now, but once we pass above 100k, if you're somebody who's thinking about making a big purchase, like a big chunk into Bitcoin, you may want to consider waiting for some sort of pullback like this, a proper, real size
a large scale, long term pullback. This is what we keep talking about all the time. This is literally my way of thinking about the whole market, right?
Yeah,
I feel like we talk about it every day. But
yeah, that could be something as simple as 100k, and then back to 63, where we are now. So that's the thing is, do not be surprised if we go all the way to 100k and you still have an opportunity to buy at this price in the future. That is historically normal behavior for Bitcoin.
Yeah. Well, okay. Let's. I don't know if you want to look at like dominance or a total fee or whatever.
Yes, we can have a look at dominance. I've been actually I can show you my
yes, because I've prepared my ETH chart as well here soon.
Yeah. So let me just get off the weekly. Let's move into something like that. Yep, go to the daily. It's all broken now.
Yeah, it breaks. You got too many screens.
Let's get rid of all the drawings. No, this is the right number of screens. So this is my current favorite chart layout. Let's remove drawings. And basically this is what I've been using to play the market over the last couple of days, weeks. How long? Oh, I'm on the BLX, BTC, USDT. So I've actually played around with it a bit. Let's just ETH USDT. So with this, I have Bitcoin top left, ETH bottom left, Solana on the top right, and the total market cap excluding the top 10 on the left. Why is this not locked with my
I don't know.
It's being stupid. There we go. Now it's locking. So within this, it's being very silly because that's not the daily, that's not the hourly. There we go. I've fixed it. So within this, with this view, I can see everything. What it allows is basically this is my current overview for the whole market, and it's showing me obviously how Bitcoin's working with the main market leader. ETH is still the main altcoin proxy. ETH will still move up and down, and the majority of altcoins follow ETH. If you look at how these charts are moving, you've got everything's still highly correlated, but generally when you do really zoom in, it's ETH that looks most like the total market cap. And so what I like to look at then is how is others, so total market cap excluding the top 10, it's others on TradingView. How does others move compared to ETH? Is it, if others is making higher highs and ETH is making lower highs and Bitcoin is making lower highs, then I'm thinking, okay, hang on, altcoins are starting to move ahead of the market. And if I see Solana also making higher lows, I'm going, okay, this is now likely getting close to a bottom because Bitcoin's starting to get flushed out. So I've been using this view precisely to look at it and go, what's the overall picture of the market telling? Not what's Bitcoin doing and just assuming that altcoins are going to do the same thing. Because when you look at all the information together, the trends can show very, very nice patterns where, for example, if I start to get, when I've got the, which Bollinger Band have I got on here? That is the daily Bollinger Band on the top one, the hourly chart, but I've got the daily Bollinger Band on here. So we're seeing Bitcoin holding pretty well on the midline, but you've seen Ethereum is now broken down lower in it, and it's very clearly starting to lose that. Meanwhile, Solana is pushing up towards the top of the Bollinger Band. So right away, this is telling me, okay, overall, altcoins have touched the top of the Bollinger. Solana's touched the top of the Bollinger. Altcoins are generally more bullish than Bitcoin. And ETH is an absolute pile of shit. That's ultimately, yeah.
Hey.
That's what the market is
We don't
telling me.
sugarcoat things here, fellas.
Yeah, exactly. The simple fact is, right now, Solana is outpacing the market. Altcoins are bouncing harder than ETH. Altcoins are bouncing harder than Bitcoin, and ETH is underperforming Bitcoin. So ETH is just deeply, deeply unpopular right now. And I would say I've been looking for a top in ETH. The Denkun upgrade, which was incredibly bullish for layer ones and was going to lead to a new revolution by only making transactions from 2,000 times to 1,000 times more expensive than Solana. So that upgrade came in place. And
Nothing
of course,
happened.
by the rumor, sell the news, ETH sold off really, really hard relative to Bitcoin. Well, not really hard. It dropped 30% to Bitcoin, or 35% or so to Bitcoin's 25 or so. Yeah. So
yeah, something rather. Yeah,
something like that. But it's continuing on. It's long downtrend. I'll just maybe jump to ETH BTC, and then you can touch on the ETH USD chart if you want, but I don't know if you really want to.
I do, because I have something. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, ETH BTC. Let's just get rid.
Is that our swing trade strategy on there?
It is. Oh, it's sexy.
Was.
Let's put it on the daily. It's just beautiful.
Yeah, that's working pretty good, I'd say.
Yeah,
a small cluster there that got messed up, but whatever.
But for showing you the zones, yeah, it's pointing to some pretty good tops and some pretty good bottoms. And yeah, ETH BTC just looks like crap. I've been, it may be in a big accumulation phase versus Bitcoin having dropped below this support level, but having dropped below the support level at the start of April, it's been 5 weeks. We had a fake out and another lower high above what was previously this long resistance going, all the way back to like
6,000 years back.
6,000, yeah, literally like thousands of years back. Yeah, so it's basically this one here. You got that cycle top, that top there, that mid cycle top, and yeah. So resistance, support, fake out, resistance, breakthrough this is the target, 0.36. This has been the major cycle support for support and resistance for ETH in the last cycle, and I can't see why it wouldn't, having broken down below here at 0.55, which was not so strong, but it was that level that had been protected here in 2018 and then was used quite well. No, we're just grinding around it and below it, lower.
Yeah, it's almost like Ethereum played versus Bitcoin pretty well until it got competition, and then once competition was in place, like Solana and Avalanche, whatever, then people stopped caring what it did against Bitcoin, as you can see here in the big cluster that we have here towards the last couple of, I don't know, since it broke that level there, those two, yeah, right there, just that cluster since that buy, yeah. From there, it's just been like whatever. It's not really played it that well. So, question
is, if we look at Sol BTC, so caveat, the other main play, and so arguably this is just the smart contract space, the layer one space is having a cool off in general, but then again, ETH didn't really get any momentum to begin with, and if you look at Solana it's still in an uptrend. It hasn't broken that lower, that recent low. It's flagging. So
it's bull flagging. That's against Bitcoin, right?
Yes, exactly. So ETH looks like crap against Bitcoin and Solana looks good against Bitcoin. So this is where the 100 IQ person goes, ETH, the Bitcoin moves first, and then ETH moves. And I'll admit, I'm one of those 100 IQ people who like to understand the cycles of the way that they've worked for forever. But we never had a cycle where we had an ETH alternative that was genuinely able to compete, and now we do. And what we're seeing is
It's winning.
winning. Yeah, we're seeing Sol win right before your eyes. And the thing about winners is they tend to keep winning.
Yes.
And don't bet on losers, bet on winners. And for that reason, yeah, I took a bit of a play on ETH. I didn't do very well because during the drop, like I bought tried to buy what I thought was cheap ETH, and then I looked at it and went, okay, I'm getting it back to where I bought it, but I'd rather have Sol. So because Solana had dropped more than ETH, I swapped that ETH into Sol, and now Sol's bounced and ETH is
This just fizzled out.
just
with that, I'd like to. Oh, you weren't done. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, well, you decided it's great that you decide to interrupt me 3 words before the end.
Do your 3 words. I demand it.
You're an asshole.
Okay. Thank you. You're an ass face. I don't know. Either way, I thought we might move on because we've done 36 minutes. So let's. I'm gonna move into just ETH versus the US dollar or USDT, and right here it looks very cluttered, so I'll zoom in a little bit. But essentially, we have the same kind of. We have this channel that we had on Bitcoin as well. I'll jump to Bitcoin and show you. We had this trading channel right here. Where's my lines? We had this type of channel on Bitcoin, right? Like that, sort of. That's very dirty, but there we go.
Dirty line.
Yes, dirty line. Now, well, we had this channel down from the flag, right? It came down. ETH has the same type of thing, but in a much bigger scale. But it's essentially just trending down, and it did bounce sort of a double bottom here on the fib level, and it is failing this daily Bollinger. It's not gonna. It did fail this this fib here, but what's interesting with this one, I thought I'd just show the fib here. I'm gonna hide. No, I can't. That's the fib. It shows as well. So if you pull this fib back to down here, all the way at the very bottom, it's lining up perfectly with the first fib here. Mm-hmm. That's the range that we talked about that Bitcoin was in. So everything, that's confluence between Bitcoin and ETH hitting the same fib level at the same time, right? And this is really all I have for ETH, honestly, because ETH's boring, and I am personally not very interested. But it's looking kind of especially when you compare it to, which I'm gonna do next, Solana. So here's Solana didn't really get much of a channel because this dump here wasn't that big. You could argue that we had this kind of channel. I'll actually pull it here because that's a big wick. But this is sort of the channel that Solana was in, which it has broken out of, just like Bitcoin has broken out of its own. It's retesting that right now. But on Solana, it's really broken out of it. You mentioned this, that it's hitting the top of the Bollinger on the daily. It is clearly above the, it's starting to turn that Bollinger trend upwards, which it hasn't had in an uptrend since the 1st of April. That's when it started dumping, and it just turned that Bollinger trend down. And so it's looking pretty bullish on those. And the RSI, I'll say this too, the RSI here has bullish convergence. Bullish divergence. So we have a lower low, but the RSI is just ever so slightly a higher high. It's not much, but it is there, and that's kind of the point. So that's a bullish divergence on the RSI on the daily, and it is currently above into the 50s.
So that's a bullish move into the bullish. There's a confirmed RSI uptrend.
Exactly, and if we zoom into the 4-hourly on Solana as well, it looks pretty toppy here on the RSI, but that's just in the 4-hourly, right? Super trend 4-hourly is obviously flipped. Same with the Bollinger, it's trending up, and it's not, Solana did this move. It went sideways, pumped, and now it's sort of stuck. Comparing that to Bitcoin, which is sideways and down, and Ethereum sideways and down, and then you have Solana, which is sideways up and then stuck. So Solana is looking pretty good here, and I think our target, the first target I would say as resistance for Solana here, would be that peak, and then probably, so I'll make it into a range instead. It would be this range right there is kind of that red box there is kind of some resistance range for me. I could extend that all the way. Oh wait, I used the wrong thing. Hold on, give me a sec. I think that one looks nicer. So if you pull it from this line right here, and then you pull it up to where these bottoms actually sit, I'll do that. That's a resistance range that I'm not too worried about as such, but I would expect it to kind of slow down inside of this box once it gets there.
Yeah, a bit of volatility and chop inside that range would actually be nice. And so what you have there, so just a bit of knowledge there, that wick down, the drop that we got on the 13th of April, was it?
Over here, yeah.
No, before 13th. It. The one before it.
Oh, this one.
That one there. So that one there, where it just cannons straight through the chart, and it goes all the way through any sort of range of support and resistance level, and then we've held below it. So in trading, basically, that is a gap begging to be filled. That would be what's called a fair value gap. So typically, we will not see any major resistance until that gap, or the majority of that gap, has filled. So within that, I am expecting, a move up to somewhere in the mid 160s for Solana before I get another rollover and pullback. That being said, Bitcoin can spoil the party, but as it stands,
for sure,
yes,
Solana's holding up pretty good above 150. I have to say, but
Solana is a bit of a weirdo in that it does tend to move against the market, or just do what it wants to when. I
feel like it's leading the market on pretty well at times as well.
Yeah, I think basically it's a function of the economy that it's currently enjoying. Whether or not you approve or disapprove of Solana shitcoin trading and meme coins and all of this hype and stuff, my friend has been trying it today. He's been in this watching the stream a few times, and he was sending me some of the links, some of the profits today. It's like 700%, and then later on he's like 900%, and he's just selling little chunks off of these, and that's where the money is currently going to. It ain't going to ETH. 2021, that was what that money was driving into ETH. Everybody was buying on Uniswap. Everybody was just becoming poor through gas fees, and the Ethereum miners were absolutely loving it. Now, well, ETH doesn't really have any motivation to, nobody has any real motivation to use ETH because it doesn't do anything new or exciting that Solana can't beat. So follow the money. The money is moving into Solana, and it's disappointing that ultimately it's Solana shitcoins that are taking most of that liquidity. But this is still early. It was exactly the same for ETH. Now, ETH is shown that it can be superseded. Solana will probably have a vaporware meme coin nonsense season where people promise the world and all of these projects gigapump, but they're going to be built on nothing, and then they're going to collapse 90%. Exactly the same as we saw in the last cycle, but on the last cycle, Solana was a minnow. It wasn't anything major. Now you're going to see the real dog shit come to play. The stuff that, basically, all the developers that rug pulled you on ETH 4 years ago are going to rug pull you on Solana this time round.
So I do have something fun. I don't know if you remember last bull market. Last peak of the bull market, I remember there was about 20,000 different coins on the coin market cap.
Yeah,
that's 20,000, 25,000. I remember that strongly because I was like, damn, that's way too many. Rob, would you tell me out loud, because I see you're looking at the thing, how many are there now?
2.4 million plus.
Exactly.
On 762 exchanges.
Yeah, and the funny thing is, before that, so that's how you see, this is a very good indicator for me that the space is growing exponentially, right? Not necessarily in terms of like properly growing as an asset class, but it's growing in terms of people go where the money is, and then they try to create value for themselves by creating a bunch of shitcoins. So we got 2.4 million now. It was 25,000 last cycle, and the cycle before that, Rob, I don't know what it was then, but
I
do
have
you
no
remember?
idea. I
Maybe
wasn't around,
like
but
a couple of hundred.
it was in the thousands. No, well,
Yeah, it was a couple of hundred.
2017, it was getting into the thousands, and it was like, oh
Yeah.
my god, it's ridiculous. There are now 4,000 cryptos.
Yeah.
Then it
So
was like, oh
that's-
no, now there's 27,000 cryptos, and now there's 2.4 million.
Yeah, and that's yeah. Anyway, let's drop that. I'm gonna finish with one quick thing though. If you look at this fib level that I pulled, this is the last one on Solana here, on the 4-hourly charts. You pull it peak to bottom like we did on Bitcoin, and you can see how it's played it. It's failed it in this, and I'm just gonna show this current trend. So first it went to it and it failed, then it tried again and broke it, then it bounced on it, came out of this with a very weak strength, came out of this downtrending line, got stuck on this fib, broke through it, almost came up to it, and now we're kind of stuck in that range. And it's like that range that we were talking about where we might see resistance, that's basically this entire fib level range right here, and that is just below the golden pocket, and the golden pocket tends to be kind of a hard resistance type thing. So if we do pump up to this, create a peak here, and then start ranging here for a while to reset some indicators, whatever, just to get that new peak, that would give us the chance to create, let's call it something like that, just like we said on Bitcoin, an uptrend. And then we want to see that lower, let's see, I'm just going to draw some random shit here, up here, and then it comes down, retests this fib level maybe, and then it continues on. But that gives Solana that uptrending trend line that we want to see with a higher low and a higher high. That will definitely confirm the new uptrend for me. Currently, it's still a downtrend, but it's just broken the current trend line, and that's it. And yeah, that's it. I mean, 4-hourly RSI wants to come back down to 50, maybe. I don't know if it needs to do it here. We'll have to wait and see. But overall, market is like, Bitcoin is basically flat. It started the day at 64. It went to 65.5, fell back down to 63. And now it's back at 63.5, and I don't know what it's going to do. ETH is down, Solana is up, Injective is up, Render is up. And Render had a massive day yesterday, by the way. I'll just show this. Massive uptrend last week. There we have... Yeah, I know you have a position, but there we have that trend that I was talking about that we want to see. I'm just going to pull this simply. You see, that's what we're looking for.
Have a look at the fib for Render.
On fib, on Render, yeah, I'm assuming this is going to be, golden pocket hit, just like I predicted for Solana. The fibs work, guys. Learn how to use the fibs, use them.
Yeah.
Make sure that they're placed properly.
And so again, like we're not saying this is a top, but look at it. If you bought $7 a few days ago, then there is a chance if this rolls over, do not don't turn down 50%.
Yeah, I'll say this. If I remove this current fib that we have here, you see this blue line right here? That's a fib as well, but that's the top of the previous bull market peak. That's the all-time high. You see how this candle has just closed? All these candles have closed above or on it.
Yeah.
These are just liquidity wicks, right? So it's essentially what it's done here. Well, I guess doesn't count, but let's count it from this new all-time high. So pump, new all-time high on Render, comes down,
retest,
and tests twice, and then it moves. I need to double check now if that is it is. This is the weekly close on the all-time high, and then that green line is the all-time high itself.
So what I did, so for my position on Render, which it is a holding position, it's something I'm holding for long old time, but within that I'm going to try and trade. So I actually did something that may seem counterintuitive. Was on Render, I sold the bottom quite intentionally, which is I had been holding a spot position. That spot position had been going down in obviously quite heavily. It's dropped 50% from the top. And so as I saw that most recent drop to 7, and as it saw it pull around, I went, I think this is the bottom. So I sold a chunk of my spot render and then put it straight into futures, and I opened up a larger number of contracts on the futures market. And then, in order to protect myself against that, I just set the stop loss as it started moving up against it on spot. So now I have a spot position. I sold some spot position and have a futures position. So now I have more render. And I did, and the way that I got more render, I managed to, I'm so far riding this from literally 714 or something silly, like, I don't know, 740 maybe. I'm so far riding all this up, and I did it by selling the bottom on the spot market. So little counterintuitive tricks like that is, don't be scared of giving yourself liquidity if you need liquidity. If you're holding a bag and that bag isn't doing anything for you, and I'm only talking as a trader here, not as a hodler, but yeah, don't be afraid to take a loss on a position or get out of something that isn't serving you or is making your position or your overall portfolio riskier. You have to assess that as a trader. So yeah, just one last thing to look at
I was
before we-
gonna say,
questions.
do we want to take the question or do you want to do the Bitcoin dominance?
Let me just do
the Bitcoin
let me
dominance
do the
actually.
dominance.
Here you
So,
go.
like, overall, since, you know, for the last, what we're talking now, 3 weeks, Bitcoin dominance peaked up at this, you know, this isn't it's just sort of range that I've looked at, but it's made this peak and came down. And okay, yeah, altcoins have had a decent run over the last few weeks.
Yep.
But overall, Bitcoin dominance is still tearing upwards. This is still a very clear uptrend, and this is still telling the market altcoins on the whole have not yet reversed, are not yet bottomed, and are not in a bull market against Bitcoin. They might be in a bull market against the dollar. Congratulations, every other asset on the planet is in a bull market against the dollar. That's not an achievement. Is it in a bull market against the market leader?
Yeah.
And the majority of these coins are not.
Yeah, it doesn't mean that some of them can't be. Like Solana can be stronger than Bitcoin, for example, but only not over the course of it's you only want to hold, if you're really going to hold and just make money, you want to hold Solana when the big uptrend comes. You want to hold stuff like Solana in the uptrend, but then when it stops going up and it starts going sideways, or Bitcoin goes down and it starts to go down, that's when you want to flip it into Bitcoin or flip it into dollars, right? Because we saw the correction on Solana was 44% and Bitcoin was 23%. That's when that dominance takes you, like it's that dominance back up again on Bitcoin, right? So yes, there are things.
Yes, there are things.
Oops,
So yeah,
there we go.
no, so as it stands, yeah, we've had a few weeks of downtrend but realistically, we see this pattern. If I just zoom back in onto the hourly, you see this kind of expanding wedge pattern.
Mhm.
It's okay, it's a bit messy on it as it's a dominance chart, but still, you see this pretty clear support level. Generally, these break up typically, and that would fit. What would that suggest? What would that actually look like? It would look like Bitcoin starting to chart up higher, followed by, I don't know, ETF launches and new volume coming in, or another wave of liquidity moving up.
And GBTC not selling.
Yeah, a few things like that will lead Bitcoin to move upwards. And if Bitcoin is moving up and it's moving up ferociously, a lot of people, they're not going to take a risk on the riskier altcoins. I would still expect, I expect Solana, I expect the likes of Injective, things that have been carrying on moving upwards, the likes of Render, I expect them to carry on move. The market leaders tend to carry on leading. They bubble the most. They get the most fake value because they actually offer something, but people overestimate what it actually offers or what it offers today. It becomes incredibly bloated, worth tens or $50 billion or $100 billion or $500 billion, and it simply isn't worth it. But it has to bubble before you sell. Otherwise, you just keep holding, because if it just keeps grinding up like this, guys, well, sweet, you can accumulate like this for years.
Yep, you can. We did get a question though that I do want to
Yeah.
get to, and it's from Ikan. And he's asking something that we both know a lot about now. And he says, is it best to do coin margin futures or sell, or to sell and then get back in again? So the question, I'm going to rephrase it. The question is it better for me to sell my, let's say, Bitcoin holdings when I think there's a peak in hopes to buy it back cheaper? Or is it better to trade futures using my Bitcoin asset as the collateral? So just regular futures, you bring dollars in and you buy contracts. Either you short the market with dollars, or you short the market with or long the market with dollars, sorry. So you do either, and that means that when you close your position, you've made dollars. But if you take Bitcoin in and you open up a 5x long on Bitcoin and the price goes up, then you're earning more Bitcoin on the way up as the price goes up, right? Because your reward when you close it is in Bitcoin, right? It's paid in kind. On both, it's paid in kind. So whatever you put in is what you get back out. Same when you short it. So that's why it's nice to, like, when you, something that I am starting to do, and I'm pretty new to it myself, but Rob has more experience with it, but you would take Bitcoin in when you think there's a peak. Instead of selling it, which would incur capital gains tax, first of all, you could short the market with your own asset without selling it. And then the price goes down. And then when you close your short position, you get back more of your asset. And you haven't sold anything. It's essentially free asset. So it's just essentially a zero cost basis win, sort of.
Yeah,
but not really.
Yeah, basically. So yes, and that's so you have to be, was right so far. You did talk about the profits. Also, your losses are multiplied, and the thing to consider is that when the price is dropping using coin futures, not only is the price of your position size dropping, but the value of your collateral is also dropping. So as it's dropping and it's dropping, your leverage actually goes up and up and up and up and up. So it can get very risky, because if you get caught over leveraged, the market turns against you. You're not losing $1,000 or $5,000. You're losing 0.1 Bitcoin. You're losing 15 Solana. It's a permanent loss on something which is actually a lot harder to replace than dollars. So it's something to consider, that yes, the gains can be multiplied, but also the losses can be multiplied. The way I do it, and the way I get around that, is I trade coin futures whilst I have a pot of cash trading my bot. I've explained how it works with me, is that I always like to keep a cash position. Actually, during April, I lost a reasonable amount of money, and I even warned about it and talked about it on stream. Go me for giving advice, stupid me for not listening to myself. I said, I've DCA'd in now. I don't currently have the collateral that I want. Yeah, I made good buys on Bitcoin, but because of that, as I then started to trade thinking, yeah, it's all right, I'm a good enough trader. Yes, I was making some wins, but I was also taking losses. And because I had no collateral, I had no cash, and they're going, I've got to take a stop loss here. I don't really like to trade with stop losses crazily, because I like to stay low leverage so that if it goes tits up, I'll just buy it in spot. But instead, I was having to play a volatile market with stop losses, and it lost me some money. I ended up getting in close to the bottom, but only after I'd taken a good few hits on the way down, which hurt my portfolio. So now my average cost basis is higher than that bottom, even though I have a good position. So it's a lot easier to watch someone and to be told how to do something than to actually do it. Always remember that. And with coin margin futures, you are playing with the most valuable thing you own. I do it because I have an insurance pot. Where I've incurred losses have been because I did not have a sufficient insurance pot. So do not treat it as, if you treat it like a casino, you'll end up with the same results as a casino.
Yeah, I have a general rule, and that is that my trading bag is only ever 10% or less of my total portfolio. So, and it's not it's not that I take, let's say, 100% in my portfolio and I take out 10% and move it to the side. It's that I have my 100%, and then on the side I have 10% of that 100% value, so it's 110% basically. Which means that if I do want to short Bitcoin somewhere, because I'm never selling my Bitcoin, like I'm gonna borrow against it. I don't care if it goes down 60% during a bear. I don't give a crap. I'm not using that. That's gonna sit there forever. Okay, I'm never gonna pay capital gains tax on that ever. And that's me. That's me. No, that's me. That's my preference. And you have to figure out, kind of what your preference is. Do you feel like it's worth risking leverage trading on coin margin futures? Because if it goes well, then it is objectively better than just selling, paying tax, and then buying it back. It is better, but it's also a lot riskier. So just keep that in mind.
So with selling on coin margin futures, so there's something that you can do, and this is what I intend to do. I intend to sell by shorting coin margin futures for the simple reason of the funding rate. And the funding rate during bull markets, for anybody who's played with futures in the last few weeks, when it was at the top, those funding rates were killing us in terms of our position size, especially during a sideways market. You're just holding something and you're paying a significant chunk of a fraction of a percent per day just to hold the position. Now, during a bull market, if you short the market, you get paid that. If you're going to sell something, why sell it when you can just simply sell some contracts? And you have to buy those contracts back later, and you may have to buy it back at a higher price. But those contracts are, if you have $50,000 worth of Bitcoin and you short $50,000 worth of contracts, if the price of Bitcoin doubles, those contracts are still going to be worth $50,000. I.e., when you come to sell them, they'll be worth half as much Bitcoin as they were before. But if in that meantime you happen to be paid 100% interest because of the funding rate, well, then you would have been paid the equivalent amount of Bitcoin and you would be break even. So that's an extreme gain. But say you sold 10 or, but say you sold 10 or 20% from the ultimate top, but you could accumulate 10-12% worth of gains just through holding a funding rate. Well, that's suddenly it's selling a lot closer to the top effectively. So it's something to bear in mind that you can do that, but you need to understand how it works. That is the ultimate thing, is you need to know what you were doing with it. And I will always say the same thing. Don't trade futures. If you do trade futures, make sure you trade low leverage. If you do trade low leverage, make sure you've got a stop loss. If you don't have a stop loss, you're gonna go. It's
if you have experience, then go ahead and have fun. But most people that think they have experience don't, myself included. Like
myself included.
Trader. Like no one is perfect. Either way, I don't want to extend this too long. But yes, essentially, make sure you know how to invest before you start to trade, and make sure you can trade before you start trading futures.
Yes, if you can't make money on the spot market, you will not make money on futures.
Golden Goose is perfect, apparently, but we know that already. Perfect.
Yeah, he believes everything his mother tells him, though.
Yeah. Well, okay, we're gonna end it here. I think we've gone through everything that we felt that we wanted to go over, and tomorrow is Macro Tuesday, so not entirely sure what we're looking at there. But we'll have a look-see during the day and see what we get. If we find something interesting, like here's the thing, guys. If we don't find anything interesting to talk about on PA2 on Macro Tuesday, we're probably not going to stream, because if we have nothing to say, then why say it and waste you guys' time? Anyway, we'll see you guys in Discord as always, and make sure you do the like thing. I know you did that in the beginning, like we asked you, but we'll see you in Discord, y'all. All right, bye.
Bye.